All right, hello, class. You're my 5th grade students, and today we're going to be learning about Eastern Asian music. All right, so Eastern Asia is the continent that is across the Pacific Ocean, right? And the Pacific Ocean is the ocean that's closest to us. All right, so here is a map of the Pacific Ocean. Let's see, and we've got the names of a bunch of different countries that are on it, all right? And so who can point to where we are on this map? Does anybody know?
Right here.
That's right, that's the United States, that's where we are. So across the ocean would be East Asia. So whereabouts do you think that would be? Can anybody point to a country that might be in East Asia?
Over here.
Yeah, what country is that? Can you read it for me? It's kind of small, I know.
Japan.
Japan. That's right. That's a country in East Asia. Japan is actually one of the countries that we're going to be listening to some music from. Most of the countries that are in East Asia that you would listen to would be Japan, Thailand, Korea, and China. There is a couple of other ones. The 2 main ones that we're going to be focusing on are China and Japan. All right, so here is a piece of music from Japan. All right, I'd like you all to listen carefully. Oh, well, it would help if the sound was on. Okay, thank you for listening, class. All right, so here are some of the instruments that were in that piece of music. This is called a bamboo flute. And if you've played a regular flute, it's the same as a regular flute, except for it's made of bamboo. So slightly different. The way that you hold it and the way that you finger it would also be a bit different from how we would play a Western flute, but the concept is the same. You blow over the holes and music comes out. And you put your fingers over the holes. Another instrument that we listen to is a koto. All right, and this is a picture of a koto. So, if you look at it, you can see that it looks a little bit like a guitar that's kind of laid down flat, and then they play it. And, yes.
Do they play it on the floor?
Sometimes they'll sit on the floor with it on their lap, and sometimes they'll play it when it's placed on a table or something. It depends on the exact instrument. Some of them are longer and shorter. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then this one is a shamisen, and that was also in the music that we listened to. And if you can see, it looks a lot like a guitar, but it's got fewer strings and it doesn't have a hole in the body right there. All right, let's see. This next piece of music that we're going to listen to a little bit about is from China. And there's only one instrument, and I want to see if you guys can hear any differences between this piece of music and the other piece of music. All right, listen closely. Okay, now there was only one instrument that was played in that piece of music, and that instrument was called a guzheng. I might not be pronouncing that correct, but it's close enough. All right, so here's a picture of the guzheng, and you notice anything about this? What does this look like?
The way it's standing, it kind of looks like a piano.
It does kind of look like a piano, but here, let me show you. That is a picture of a guzheng, and this is a picture of the koto. All right? You notice anything about this?
Oh yeah, they look
the same.
They look the same. They're very similar. So what are some differences that you guys can point out?
The guzheng has more strings.
Yeah, It looks like the guzheng has more strings. That's one thing.
The one on the right looks thinner.
The one on the right, yep, that's the koto. That one looks a lot thinner.
Oh, looks like
And there's one other big difference. It's kind of hard to tell from this picture, but if somebody was playing it, you would definitely notice.
the stand.
Yes. This one has a stand and this one doesn't. And so the guzheng and the koto are both come down. They're descendants from an instrument called a zhang, which is from China originally, and that was about 1,500 years ago. So around 500 BC, somebody from China went over to Japan and they brought this zhang, and both of them were playing this instrument. And as it went on, things changed, and that's why it looks different. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up the map. There we go. So, can somebody find China and Japan on this? And maybe why they're very... There's China. Yeah, that's right. That's the touchscreen. That's okay.
And there's Japan.
All right, and then look how close these are compared to how far away it is from the United States. And that's why these have very similar instruments, but if you come all the way over to the United States, the instruments are quite a bit different. All right, so we're going to talk about the actual differences, just aside from how they look, some of the main differences between the guzheng and the koto. So the koto, here, I'll bring up the picture of it. The strings on the koto, as these strings right here, these are going to be made of silk, or it might be nylon nowadays instead of silk, because silk is pretty expensive. But whereas if we look at the guzheng, those strings are going to be made out of steel.
Wow.
Right? So that's kind of like a guitar, right? A guitar usually has strings that are made out of steel, and occasionally you'll have a nylon string guitar, but that would be unusual. All right, and then the differences aside from that are the way that they're tuned. So you can't see it from this angle, but if you could see the end right here, it would have a little knob right there, like a guitar. So the string comes on this end and it goes all the way, it goes on this end and it goes all the way over, and then it wraps. They have a very long string, and then it wraps around the little knob and they turn it, and the strings are going to be very long so that if the string breaks, then they can just take the string and lengthen it out, because it's made out of something that's a lot cheaper. Whereas this one, it'll be a shorter string. Although if the instrument's longer, the string will be longer, but the string will only go towards where the knob is here, and then the knob is a little bit differently shaped, and they'll tighten it, and that's how it's strung. All right, now, one other thing that I really wanted to talk about is the difference between the pentatonic scale and the heptatonic scale. So the heptatonic scale is something that you've heard of. We've discussed it before, but you haven't heard of it that way. So the key word that we're looking for is the very beginning. Hepta, it means 8, right? So a heptatonic scale has 8 parts, and we've heard of it before, like in the song from The Sound of Music, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's a heptatonic scale, and it's got 8 different parts. Whereas music in the East Asian culture is a pentatonic scale, which means it only has 5 parts. So they skip some of the notes that we would play, and the way that their scale is quite a bit different, so it'll sound. That's why the sound, when you hear, aside from just the instruments, the sound that you hear as they play the music sounds quite a bit different. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit, a few minutes not a few minutes, maybe a couple seconds, 30 seconds. I'll play 30 seconds of an Eastern music and a Western music, and I'm going to play them out of order, so it's not going to be in that order, and you guys are going to try to tell me if you can hear the differences between it, and see if you can hear, based on the instruments that are playing, and based on the way that you can hear the difference. You might not be able to say it, but you'll be able to hear in the way that the scales work. Also, while you're listening to this music, I want you guys to think about the emotions that you're feeling, what this sounds like, and what it makes you feel like, okay? And then we're going to talk about it. All right, so here is a piece of music. We're going to listen to 30 seconds, and then you're going to say whether you think it is an Eastern piece of music or a Western piece of music, and what kinds of emotions you think it's bringing out in you. Okay, so what do you think, that was Eastern piece of music or a Western piece of music? What do you think?
Eastern.
Eastern, that's right. All right, so that, and what did it sound like? What did it feel like to you? What kind of emotions did you feel from hearing that?
Scared.
You felt scared? Uh-huh. Anything else?
It made me feel kind of anxious.
Kind of anxious? Okay, that's interesting. All right, now we're going to listen to another piece of music. It'll be very hard for you to guess what kind it is. All right, here we go. Listen. Hold on, I'm going to skip because it's kind of quiet at the beginning. Can you hear that? Here, we'll skip. There we go. Now it gets louder. Okay, what kind of music do you think that was?
Western.
Western, that's right. All right. And what did it make you feel like when you were listening to that?
That one made me feel more anxious than the one before.
More anxious than the one before.
The one
Okay.
before was way more calming.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. So we're just trying to get you to listen to music and feel it and be in the moment. All right. I've got a couple quiz questions, but I think... No, you know what? We're going to ask them. Okay. What is the scale in Eastern music? Remember, we just talked about it. Difference. Yes.
A five scale.
It's the 5-part. Do you remember what that's called? Yes.
Pentatonic.
Pentatonic. That's right. Pentatonic. That's the name of the scale in Eastern music, and that's the different scale than what we have, which is the heptatonic. Right. Okay. And then, do you remember any of the differences between the koto and the guzheng? The koto is the Japanese one. Here, I'll show you the pictures. But not just the ones that you saw, but the ones that we talked about. Remember? So this is the koto, this is the one from Japan, and this is the guzheng. This is the one from China. Can you think of anything that you remember from what we talked about before?
The stand.
The stand, okay, that's the guzheng, right? But how about what the strings are made of? Does anybody remember what the strings are made of?
The koto is made out of silk.
Yes, koto is made out of silk.
Or
That's
nylon.
right. Or nylon. Modern day is more likely
Yeah.
to be nylon. And then what's the guzheng? What's the strings made of?
Steel.
That's right. All right. Good job, class. So that is Eastern Asian music.
Yay.